Moon Knight has made me feel like I'm an insane person these last couple months. Not because I think I have dissociative identity disorder, but because of how disappointed I was with it. The show was hyped up to be this super dark, gritty show. Even the big man Kevin Feige hyped up how dark this show was gonna get. And I watch it and think, this was a complete lie. And to make matters worse, the people who like this show adored it. They will say the show was a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. And I was just thinking to myself, have you seen Daredevil? My point being, I wasn't just disappointed with Moon Knight, but with WandaVision, Hawkeye, Loki, Shang-Chi, Thor, especially Thor. Phase 4 has not been pretty. I haven't seen Ms. Marvel because I'm clearly not the target audience. I didn't even bother with Eternals because I had no interest in it. Spider-Man was the only movie that I was hyped for because I'm a massive Spider-Man fanboy. Doctor Strange was decent. Other people may not agree, but I kind of liked it. But Thor was my breaking point. I was originally going to do a review on Thor, but I decided not to, and I want to talk about Phase 4. I started talking about Moon Knight because I was genuinely hyped about this show. If you know the comics, then you know how dark it gets. I thought, finally, the MCU will tackle the gritty in this show. Then it was announced it would be TV-14. TV-14 for a character who ripped off another dude's face and wore it as a mask. You're telling me this should be TV-14. My hype was pretty much killed, but I still gave it a chance. Because like I said, the Kingpin himself, Feige, was hyping the show up like it would be something we've never seen before. They said the show will be dark, and damn it was disappointing. Since then, I haven't had much hype for any show. And looking at what the future lineup of MCU shows look like, I'm not hyped for it. Ms. Marvel has already finished. I just don't have an interest in it because, again, I am not the target audience. And it has just been disappointing. What exactly is making Phase 4 so disappointing? Well, it's been an issue that's been plaguing the majority of Phase 4 and has started even earlier on. And that is undercutting emotional moments. One movie that really pissed me off was Shang-Chi when he was talking about his backstory and the stupid flight attendant interrupted him for the sake of comedy. Pissed me off to no end. Thor Love and Thunder was notorious for undercutting any emotional moment. The only time they didn't was at the end when, spoiler, Jane died. Other than that, every emotional moment that was interrupted by a screaming goat that made me want to do a 360 no-scope falling off of high-rise. The one show that actually did a decent job at not shooting down emotion was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But here's where it comes to my next point with Phase 4. The writing. Falcon and the Winter Soldier sucked. The writing was bad and the pacing was all over the place. The show had some really stupid lines and some really stupid twists as well.
You've got to do better, Senator.
WandaVision also had some stupid writing too, like in one part where basically the show was written like Wanda isn't guilty.
Because she chose to protect me.
She's holding thousands of people hostage.
And it could have been thousands more if she hadn't put up her own quarantine.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
What the hell is that? It makes me want to... The movies have had their fair share of issues with the writing too. Thor, again, had a pretty bad script where characters would say some pretty stupid lines. Other than just specifically lines that characters say, it was really the way that the stories were written. And they just weren't interesting. Thor Love and Thunder and Multiverse of Madness had a pretty similar plot. Wanda and Gore were controlled by a special object, but in the end, they make the right choice. Overall, not a super interesting plot. WandaVision, on the other hand, had the most interesting plot that I think I've ever seen in the MCU, and then it was ruined in the end with its bad writing trying to defend Wanda's action when she didn't deserve to be defended. And just overall, just the way that it was rushed, which we're now going to get into the pacing. The pacing of WandaVision was bad. The pacing in Falcon and the Winter Soldier wasn't great as well. The pacing in all the shows I watched were pretty bad. For some reason, Marvel wants to treat their shows like 6-hour movies. Sorry to break it to you, but it doesn't work like that. Either make a movie or make a TV show. The pacing issues that occurred made these shows almost impossible to rewatch. WandaVision, like I mentioned, really good at the beginning, but then by the end, the show just fell apart. Hawkeye took 5 episodes to build up to Kingpin. I only watched this show because Vincent D'Onofrio might be in this show, and when he does appear, it's only for 1 episode, and dies. I should have been the one to die after watching this. Okay. This is gonna get a little too dark now. Moon Knight had the same issue. The finale was rushed. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, rush finale. It's like the writers will start writing and they have everything planned out. Then Feige comes in out of nowhere and tells them they only have 6 episodes to get this done. And then the writers start freaking out and decide to make some really stupid choices. Surprisingly, the one that didn't feel rushed was Loki, but that was one of the shows that I didn't really care about. The thing I find interesting with Phase 4 so far has actually been the directors. That's because the directors for the movies have been given more freedom. Sam Raimi, Taika Waititi, Chloe Zhao, they were given some pretty decent freedom to tell the stories they wanted. And they had issues. Lots of them. What worries me is that the higher-ups at Disney will see that giving these directors the freedom to do more of what they want is not a good thing, and go back to making something like Ant-Man and the Wasp. God damn it, I hate that movie. These directors are super talented. Waititi and Zhao have directed some amazing films, and of course, Sam freaking Raimi, the one who started the superhero boom in the first place. You have James Gunn making the last Guardians movie, which his movies have not disappointed, but who knows? I would love to see something different, but it seems like they're too scared to. While these directors are getting more flexibility, they still feel like the same with its humor, color palette, and even some of the fight scenes. My worry is that Marvel will just start hiring yes-man directors so they can get control of how the movie goes. Now, some changes that I think would really help is by doing something completely different. It seems like Eternals tried to, but I'll be honest, I have not seen Eternals, so I can't really give my full opinion on it. I've only been able to read the reviews, and some of it just seems like it was a mess. But I do think trying something completely different will help out a lot. You don't have to do something that's formulaic, and I think that's what's been helping people start hating on the MCU, is seeing that there are other superhero stuff being made that's better than what the MCU is offering, a la The Boys. The Boys brings something different that the MCU wishes it could do. When you watch The Boys, you see its creativity in the direction and writing, and then compare it to the MCU, it's just not close right now. The Boys, objectively right now, is better than the MCU. That is not a hot take in my opinion, at least not anymore. And you may be thinking, well, that's just a TV show. Movies are different. Look at the shit Marvel's been putting out. I think Marvel needs to take some inspiration from The Boys, Invincible, Peacemaker, and even a show they did before. Have you seen Daredevil? What all these shows have in common are love and creativity to them. The people that work on these shows actually give a crap, and they aren't just doing it to get that cash money. Here comes the money. Oh, baby. And what do I get from these MCU shows? Not much to them. This is a multi-billion-dollar company that I'm sure can shell out a bit more money to make these shows look better, and maybe even hire people who want to do this stuff. I go back to Moon Knight. I know there were people involved that care about the character, but Disney needs to back off just a bit and let these beautiful people shine. That, to me, was what held back Moon Knight and kept it being this average show with not enough substance. But a big issue with Phase 4 has to do with the audience. The audience just eats up anything MCU related. These movies make big bank in the box office, and the shows are also really popular. So when they get good viewership and good money from it, why change the formula? To the higher ups at Disney, there is no point in changing anything when they can get that cash money. You have a tiny portion of MCU's fans that are getting tired of the same stuff and start doing some complaining. But you have these fanboys with posters of Feige defending every action that a multi-billion-dollar corporation does and explains why the movies and shows are perfect. This is why I felt like I was insane watching Moon Knight. People thought this show was just amazing, and it really wasn't. Moon Knight is an extremely dark character, and they made this show into a comedy. I'm upset because I wanted something dark like I was promised, but the fans still love it, and we will probably get more comedic stuff going forward. Basically, my entire point is this. I really enjoy the MCU. I grew up with this stuff and have watched Marvel a majority of my life. I don't want to see the future of the MCU start to fizzle out. I'm not a Marvel hater. I love Marvel, and they can do great. Endgame really did feel like the end of the MCU to me. I just haven't been interested in any of the new Marvel stuff. She-Hulk looks pretty generic. Echo and Agatha are getting their own spin-offs, and I just don't think they're strong enough characters for that. The Daredevil reboot is in the works, and I'm extremely worried about that because Daredevil is one of my favorite shows, and the writers that they hired for were writers that worked on shows that were canceled after one season. So I have to ask yet again, have you seen Daredevil? I just want to see Marvel continue to grow, but they have to stop making safe projects and start expanding into different territories. I'm worried about the future of the MCU. This isn't coming from a person who hates them just to be a quirky white girl. This is coming from a fanboy who grew up with Spider-Man, with X-Men, with the cartoons, with Phase 1 of the MCU, and I want to see this universe continue to grow. This is my plea. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like, be sure to leave a comment down below, and make sure to subscribe as well. It'll really help with the support on this channel, and I would love to continue making videos like this. That's it. I'm MoeFoeGenius. I'm signing out. I'll see you all later.